one of the greatest problems with toilet waste is we add so much water to it, and it gets combined. Then the aggregate must be managed as black water, because black water is potentially dangerous. Mm-hmm. So what are we looking at in the future in terms of our planning efforts? This slide looks at the area there just to the north of Makala and to the south of the Kealakekee wastewater treatment plant, and then north up past Macy's. I have a friend who works for the QLT, Queen Liliuokalani Trust, and she is aware of their development plans. And she has told me that if they come to their maximum fruition, we're looking at something between 4,000 to 6,000 homes in the next 20 to 30 years. And to my knowledge, there is no integrated planning about how freshwater and wastewater and public open space is going to be managed in this proposal. And I think it needs to happen sooner rather than later, because retrofitting all of this new development will be far more costly than prospectively designing it for water reuse and water conservation. This slide is from the Department of Health's report to the legislature about cesspools in Hawaii, and it particularly looks at the question of nitrogen. From my point of view, the risk to groundwater and the risk to the ocean water is not pathogens, it's nitrogen. Nitrogen and the other nutrient, phosphorus, which moves at a much slower rate because of its chemistry, represents the greatest threat to our drinking water. The inland maps here show nitrogen concentrations in groundwater, but I want to draw your attention to the brown circles and the blue circles. This is a measure of something called the heavy isotope of nitrogen, and the heavier it is, the more likely that it comes from human sources. And there's pretty good consensus that the nitrogen that's moving into the ocean is anthropogenic, which means it comes from human activity. The largest source of nitrogen in our environment comes from urine, not the feces, urine. Humans excrete urea, which is converted to ammonia, which is converted to nitrate, which is fertilizer, and it flows readily with water. It's very, very soluble. The blue circles up at Honokohau and down towards Kahaluu represent fairly high readings of that heavy isotope, clearly suggesting that we are adding nitrogen to nearshore water. Why is this a concern? Because nitrogen is one of several threats to the coral ecosystem, along with other things including warming temperatures. And so the best way to deal with this nitrogen is to feed it to plants, things like grass. Now, one of the things I'm going to suggest is to consider creating a park, a grassland, just right out here to the south in that 100 some acres of and irrigate it. Make it open public space, parklands, playing fields, and irrigate it. And in the top of this drawing, you see a wetlands. And the vision here is this wetlands is scenic. It's planted. It attracts birds. It's attractive to walk. You know, people walk along the boulevard here, and those walkways could be extended down into the wetlands.
We are planning to develop the regional park at Kealakekee, where some of the green space and wetlands could be constructed or will be constructed, but that takes parks as well as public works. And then the problem of environmental management is in charge of the plant, yet Department of Water Supply has to play a role in the distribution of the water, I think. I think that's still something that the two departments need to get together on.